We're going to get on better habits of shopping, cooking, prepping, making smart choices when we go out. And we're going to get back into a healthy fitness and health routine. So like I said, that's where I play with like mental and emotional. And since it's a hypothetical, it's hard to express that. But literally, I'm just holding space for people and listening to how they feel now, and then alchemizing that situation into how they can feel better when they get to their goals, because everything is based upon belief. If they don't believe they can do it because they're not motivated, or they're feeling down about themselves, or somebody told them they couldn't do it, or they tried and failed before, I'm there to not only listen to where you're at, but tell you to believe in yourself that we can get there.
Yeah, it's because you're not going to get there by accident, right?
No.
You're not going to get there not believing in yourself.
You're not going to get there in accident, and you're not going to get there on the first day.
Yeah.
So the first day is taking all these notes, hearing them out. Like point being is, if you're a coach, trainer, dietitian, nutritionist, whatever, actually listen. Actually give a fuck. Communication is 50% listening, at least.
Yeah.
You know? Welcome back to the Bridge Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Nixon.
I am also your host.
I was going to say,
John
are we
Matthew.
co-hosts? I figured you're the host and I'm the color fucking commentary guy.
Yeah, it was like, are we co-managers like Jim and Michael?
Yes. Assistant to the regional.
But
we are
podcaster.
co-managers for sure. Co-hosting, co-hosts. Today, we are continuing the programming series. We're going to go however many weeks it's going to take, right? First week, we're breaking down a hypothetical case study of what, and we'll have the details, a woman named Maria, let's pretend, and we'll give you all her information. Maria, all her information, and we'll break down how we would do a consultation of getting all her information, processing it, and then getting her set for day one. And then Wednesday, we're going to come back and write her diet and her program out. So just to show people that are starting on their own, there's a lot that goes into this shit. And just to show coaches and trainers, you don't just jump right into lettuce and treadmill and burpees on day one. You fucking get so much background information. Yeah. Likes, dislikes, exercise history, injuries, where we're at now, where we want to go, goals specifically, blah, 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 and go from there. And we're looking at like a 3-month block process. Yep. And we'll explain the details as we go. And we have 4... steps, levels, layers, 4 phases that we'll go into within the first 3 months. 4 phases, let's say, and we'll break all those down. So we are coaches, nutritionists, personal trainers, and a woman named Maria. 36 years old, comes in and says she wants to lose some weight. And she's 5'4", 160 pounds. Approximately 38% body fat. How do we know this? Maybe she did a bod pod. Maybe she stood on one of those scales and held on to the thing, and we got an approximate reading.
Things,
And so her goals right away is, she says, I want to lose weight.
I've never heard that goal.
And I say, right, sounds pretty common. But I say, okay, how's about, instead of losing weight arbitrarily, we preserve or build some muscle and lose fat. How about that?
Yeah, it seems like a semantic difference, but it's not. Especially huge perceptually, difference.
Sure. So, we know she's about 160 pounds. She used to weigh, like, say, 145. And then due to the tyrannical lockdowns and weird habits now, because her desk job that she was working, going into the office and getting a lot of steps and moving around and going to the gym to run after. Now she's working on Zoom from home, and the 2 little kids, rugrats, are running around doing Zoom school too, not learning shit, messing up her whole day. But the point is, everybody has stuff going on. It doesn't mean you can't get to your goals.
Yeah.
So she used to weigh about 145 since the lockdown, which is coming up on a year anniversary, by the way, people. I don't know where you've been.
Whoa.
And she ballooned up. I don't think that's very good to say.
Spontaneously combusted?
Spontaneously combusted to 160 pounds. Okay, so she wants to lose weight. I say, how about fat loss? Because when we put her in the bod pod, DEXA scan, holding onto the scale for body fat percentage thing, we saw she was approximately 38% body fat. So if we get down to about 28% body fat, she'll be looking and feeling pretty good. That could be approximately 20 pounds fat loss.
Yeah.
So maybe the scale will be somewhere around 140. But as you'll see, when we get to the phases of breaking everything down, there'll be a reflection period where maybe we're at the body fat percentage goal, but we're not at the weight goal, but we're looking and feeling great.
Yeah.
So we're great, and it's a win. Or the other way around, we're at 140, but we're not looking and feeling how we want to look and feel. So we take a break, we reassess, and we continue the fat loss journey. So what I like to ask first and foremost, is there any injuries, pain, tightness, anything broken, former surgeries that we want to clean up first? Because the very first thing before you even think about fat loss, if you're a coach or a trainer, or like you said, if we're starting this on our own, is getting out of pain. Pain-free movement, pain-free life before we get into anything fancy. So she claims she used to be a runner, a run for fun.
Yeah, recreational runner, weekend runner.
And has a bunch of knee pain because of it. So it could be tight hip, a floppy foot.
Technique, even running technique.
All the above, right? So my first thing as a coach is going to be clean up the knee pain. Then, okay, we want to lose 20 pounds of fat. That's great. But I would like some mini performance goals just to keep us on track. So if we know our 3-month goal is approximately 20 pounds weight loss, let's get to some, 10 push-ups, 5 pull-ups, no knee pain right off the bat, maybe squatting, lunging with no knee pain.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, since she blew up to 160, the doctor said she's pre-diabetic. Don't exercise, don't eat right, here's a bunch of pills. So Maria wisely comes to us and says, I don't want to take the pills, but I'm pre-diabetic based upon some chart, or even worse, my blood work. So it's legitimately pre-diabetic. What can we do? And the answer is resistance training, managing our carbs, and knocking down the weight.
Yep.
Right? So that's going to be our health goal mixed in with this fat loss goal, is to go from pre-diabetic to super healthy blood work and insulin levels and blood sugar levels and whatnot. You know
Sounds like a plan, Maria.
So for background information, like we said, she's working on Zoom. She's got 2 kids. Now, the support system is a big deal.
You talked about tribe before, right? Community.
Huge. So not only are the kids stressing her out, but the husband's working full-time. He didn't get his job disturbed. He's an essential worker, unlike me. And my life is not essential, apparently, to the government, but that's okay. The husband is not very supportive, as far as he's tired from work and he's a little overweight, but he doesn't care about his stuff. And he loves her and he's supportive in some ways, but point being is he's bringing home pizza and ice cream and not really on the same page fitness and health-wise.
Yeah.
So Maria wisely is detaching from that situation as much as she can and coming to us for coaching to get in her fitness and health mindset. So the consultation essentially is where I'm doing mental and emotional assessments as far as seeing how much they want their goals. Have they attempted these goals and failed in the past? Have they attempted these goals and succeeded in the past? What's going to be different this time? And I like what you said, instead of like what you're going to look like at 140 pounds, who are you going to be and how are you going to feel? And attaching shit to emotion.
Yeah, because what she wants is to be 140, but what the goal is to create a lifestyle, a pattern, a behavior system that supports her ability to get to that weight, right? Because
to get to 140 is easy. Eat less, move more. See you later.
I mean, we could chop off, like, to get to weigh 140, chop off a leg, right?
Easily.
So,
you weigh 140. That's not the end goal.
Or crash diet, and that's even not the end goal, because you're going to come back up, and then you're going to keep having that goal over and
100%.
over, which is very common for a lot of people. So we're switching the mindset from what do I want versus how do I need to be in order to do that, right?
So that's like a mental and emotional assessment. But for the sake of this hypothetical, Maria's ready to go.
Yep.
She's run before and managed her weight around 145. Blew up to 160 because of sitting around too much and ordering fucking DoorDash and everything because it's easy. We're going to get on better habits of shopping, cooking, prepping, making smart choices when we go out. And we're going to get back into a healthy fitness and health routine. So like I said, that's where I play with like mental and emotional. And since it's a hypothetical, it's hard to express that. But literally, I'm just holding space for people and listening to how they feel now and then alchemizing that situation into how they can feel better when they get to their goals, because everything is based upon belief. If they don't believe they can do it because they're not motivated or they're feeling down about themselves or somebody told them they couldn't do it or they tried and failed before, I'm there to not only listen to where you're at, but tell you to believe in yourself that we can get there.
Yeah, it's because you're not going to get there by accident, right?
No.
You're not going to get there not believing in yourself.
You're not going to get there on accident, and you're not going to get there on the first day.
Yeah.
So the first day is taking all these notes, hearing them out. Like point being is if you're a coach, trainer, dietitian, nutritionist, whatever, actually listen. Actually give a fuck. Communication is 50% listening, at least. You know what I mean? If they're coming to you for goals because their knee hurts, their blood work is not good, and they're overweight, and they don't like how they look and feel, they're not feeling well.
Yeah, for like a person with the goal, we always talk about awareness is the first goal. For a coach, awareness is the first goal too, right? Because you got to be, you can come in, someone says they want to lose weight, and you're like, okay, let's get started.
Let's run on the treadmill, let's go.
Let's get started. I know nothing about them, right? I know nothing about their behavior patterns, mental, emotional state.
And that's going to work for 2 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
But if
it were that easy, then
we wouldn't have 66% of people overweight.
And it wouldn't be, personal, right? And that's what they say personal training, which I like the word coach better because I think it denotes something different. But essentially, we're working with it's individual, right? It's not a one size fit all. We know that doesn't work.
No.
And yet we still try to make it work, but we know it doesn't work. So this is why we're listening, like you said, creating space, which allows people to be vulnerable, because you're going to need some vulnerability when you're trying to change as a human being. You need to accept your vulnerability, and our job is to allow you to be vulnerable, because that's how you become strong, is becoming vulnerable. Right?
That. So everybody thinks it's about, there's like levels to being a coach too. It's like people think it's about sweating and running and cardio and burning calories, and then like the second layer is like, well, diet is most important and should have a good resistance training thing. But the top level is emotional change and being, listen, you're perfect right now. And you're going to be even better when we get to our goals. You're a fucking work of art and a work in progress at the same time. Feel okay, like you said, to be vulnerable where you are now, and don't cry or hate yourself, because that's not going to do anybody any favors. And then let's create the habits to go forward.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's approximately 21 days to create a habit, approximately 90 days to incorporate that into a lifestyle so it can become sustainable. We were just talking, we don't like selling anything less than 3-month blocks of training and coaching.
Yeah.
Because if you come in and you want 6, 8, 1 session to jump up and down.
Yeah, if Maria has this goal and she's like, I just want to buy 8 sessions, and then we'll once a week, twice a week.
I'm either not your guy, or here's why that's not a good idea.
Yeah, and maybe we could figure something else out. So,
yeah, because then you just break down the payment plan over a different amount of time. Because that 8 for X amount would be better.
And if you're a coach and you're new, especially, and the money thing weirds you out, which it does for a lot of new coaches.
Glad you brought that up.
Because it did for me, and I'm pretty sure it does for everybody at some point, especially if you're not used to sales, right?
I even hate the word sales, but I know where you're going here, because that's people not being confident, A, in themselves, and B, in the fact that they can get to their goals. Because this is the difference to me. If you don't get them to your goals, you should feel like shit because you're stealing. So that's why people have that apprehension. That means you're a good person. But if you're on that next level, I guarantee that if Maria puts in the work, it's just a matter of science and hard work and discipline and time and conditions, and we will fucking get there. 100% success rate.
Selling 3 months or a package, you said, well, that's really big. Well, it's also would you rather her buy less and then be disappointed when it doesn't work out and she has weird expectations, now she's confused?
Throw that money down the toilet for the 1 month package?
Exactly.
We need 3 months.
Yeah, so
that's the thing.
Save you some, if you're ready to commit to that, then...
trained myself for every single goal that there is, and hundreds and hundreds of people for every single goal that there is. So I am so fucking confident. I don't think of it as sales. I think of it as this is such a good deal compared to what you'd be paying in hospital bills and paying in emotional sorrow for not looking and feeling.
I forget what the exact number is, but if you're like a 40-year-old person and you pay for diabetes medication until you're 70, just 30 years, it's like, I forget how many zeros, but it's in like this
brutal.
Just shy of
a lot of zeros,
like $50 million.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
Ridiculous.
And that's crazy. And that's any medical cost. We're using diabetes as an example. Any medical cost. So that means this is not only not a lot of money, it's a fucking steal. Okay? Because once again, we can talk about afterlife and heaven and hell and reincarnation all we want. But for this incarnation, this trip, you only get one body.
Yeah.
All right? So you got to take care of it. And that's the thing. When it's not a guarantee, I understand apprehension and feeling bad and whatever. But this is a guarantee if you make that emotional connection to keep them motivated and inspired, and then they do their part by drinking water, sleeping, eating right, and showing up.
Yeah.
And they're coachable, then we can accomplish anything. So I don't even think of it as sales at that point. And by the way, we're talking about type 1 diabetes. You need a doctor, and it's something you're born with, and it's terrible, and you can work through it, and you can still lose weight.
100%.
But you need insulin, and you need a doctor. Type 2 diabetes is autoimmune, self-inflicted lifestyle disease that you've eaten too many carbs. All you need to do is eat better and do some resistance training and lose some weight, and you can 100% of the time
get off
reverse
medication.
Type 2 diabetes and get off medication. Okay, that's why we're using this as an example. Do the pills work? Sure. I mean, does a Band-Aid work on a bullet hole? Sure, it stops some of the blood, but that's not repairing and healing and doing the right thing.
Yeah, if it allows you to continue to do the things that you were just doing before, then that's not really changing anything, right?
Nah, great.
It's like I can't see it doesn't mean it's not. It's one of those things.
That pile under the rug gets pretty fucking high at a certain point. All right, so we got all her background information, right, and we've made our mental and emotional connection. Before we're still not even at diet or sets and reps and burpees and leg press and all this squats and deadlifts and shit. I would like to then do a physical assessment to not only see if there's pain that we don't know about in certain movement patterns that she hasn't been in, her coordination and her coachability, like how I can talk to see where she's going to get into what positions. And more importantly, to see what exercises are going to be beneficial and things we need to stay away from or modify.
Yeah.
So I like a two-step approach for assessment as far as first is just visual human being assessment of standing, sitting, walking, squatting, and lunging. Okay? So when I first see somebody, I'm looking at how they stand first and foremost. Is their hip shifted one way? Are their shoulders hunched? Are they favoring one side or another? Are they doing some gangster lean, some hip height, some fucking Captain Morgan stance with the foot up, some hip to the side, diva pose? All this shit is showing me all imbalances just from your standing at rest posture before we even get into exercise form and positioning. Posture is just a fancy word for positioning. All right. So then I would watch them walk facing away and facing towards you, and I'm looking from ground up as far as feet. So if we're going ground up, if you're on your own and you're just into fitness, maybe this is too much. But if you're a coach or a trainer, you're looking for a stable foot, a mobile ankle, a stable knee, a mobile hip, a stable lumbar core, a mobile thoracic spine, a stable scapula, and a mobile shoulder. Does that make sense? Working up the chain. So with all that in mind, I'm looking at those moving pieces and non-moving pieces from the bottom up as they walk to me and walk away from me. Then sitting is huge, which you don't have to do like a special assessment for that, but we're going to be sitting across from each other.
Observe them,
Observing, because like you said, awareness.
It's better to do it then, too, because if I say sit...
then they're... The perfect example. Same thing with the walking. Just don't say anything. Just observe.
Yeah.
You should be looking and listening so much more than you're fucking talking, especially on the first day.
Yeah.
As a coach or trainer.
Although I will talk when they're standing, just so it takes their mind off of standing up straight, so they're like at attention. They're like, oh yeah, so did you see? And all of a sudden they start to relax into normal posture. And you got to sort of see what's going on.
You keep your smile and your conversation going, and you take a mental note of that's what they default to.
Yeah.
Very nice. So we got standing, sitting, walking, then a squat. So body weight squat is hard for some people. An overhead squat with like a PVC pipe or something is the ultimate test, but both of those are a little tough. So I like maybe just a goblet squat to see if people can just get to the bottom of the squat, which is sitting without a chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the most basic human movement pattern there is.
Yeah,
I guess it would be a dead bug and then a bird dog and then a crawl and then a lunge and then a squat.
Yeah, if you're going from,
I'm saying, from
level baby to adult, yeah.
But for a human being, you should be able to squat down.
Yeah.
Okay? Then a lunge, because that's going to be, or even like a whole lunge matrix if you want to get fancy, because that's going to be a squat pattern, but unilateral, meaning one leg at a time. You can even see like a reverse, a side, a front, a step up. So
you can see a lot of imbalances with the squat for sure, but you can also see a lot of things you don't get anywhere else with lunges and different planes of movement and stuff like that.
So that's the progression of just that assessment. Then that's all just human movement patterns.
Normal moving stuff, yeah.
Then we get into, like I said, maybe you go for an overhead squat or a shoulder mobility test, like an Apley scratch test type of thing, or an overhead to see if their lats and what their shoulder blades are doing. And then honestly, maybe just doing a full body exercise of super lightweight to see them push, pull, hinge, and squat and move around in different movement patterns to see what they default to and what their breathing patterns are. At a default, because you can change people's lives with just breathing, bracing properly, and just see how they move before you do too much coaching in the beginning. What do you think about those assessments?
Yeah, I mean, you got to, again, it's much more awareness, so you're just getting as much information. It's just collecting data right now. If you like to think of it like that.
Yes.
The more data I have, the more I know, and the more I can program something more specific to what she needs, right? Because she may very well need to do squats and deadlifts or some specific random exercise, or she may not, based on
great point.
Looking at that, right?
Injuries, body composition.
We know she has
whatever.
a knee thing, right? So that's something we're going to pay attention to.
So the first thing, okay, so specifically going back to Maria, I got 10 things in my head now. That was beautiful. Specifically when we're talking about Maria, we're looking at that lunge and her walking, what that left knee is doing, because, and just keep in mind, where the pain is not where the problem is. I will say this again for everyone. Where the pain is not where the problem is. The problem is either upstream or downstream. Okay? When the check engine light comes on in the car, do you go in there and change the bulb on the check engine light? No.
That's great.
You pop open the fucking hood and you run the scan, the scan to see what the fuck is wrong with the actual car.
I know so much.
The problem is not the check engine light.
And the problem is, right? But what happens when you go on Google and you look like I have tennis elbow? The first 6 things you'll get are from, and this is not a knock on physical therapies particularly, but you'll get a lot of websites or even WebMD type websites, like very general health in terms of medical health.
Moving your elbow
medical
this
health.
way.
No, it's just like if you do
stretching right away.
Yeah, just like what's at the elbow or like what's going on there. It's usually a shoulder thing.
That's almost always going back to the knee, right? But same analogy. The elbow is to the knee.
Exactly. So someone hit the hip or someone hit the ankle on the
foot. It's either the foot usually pronating and dumping in, causing weird knee pain, or a tight hip not letting them rotate and gait properly. That's usually what it is. So we want to see that the knee is tracking in line with ankle and foot, let's say. And most of the time, I don't want to generalize without seeing Maria in person, but it's just probably a tight hip that's throwing her off, or like you said, a combination of faulty running and walking and sitting and standing patterns. So that's a big thing we're assessing, because keep in mind, we're not losing 20 pounds in the first day.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out how we're going to clean up that knee pain to get a better diet, to get a better exercise, to get a better habits, to eventually get to.
Because if we just kind of say like, okay, the knee pain, we'll figure that out along the way, and then we just kind of put her into stuff and forget about the knee, then she's set back, a couple weeks in, so now she got to keep resetting.
Yep. And I like what you said. For example, a barbell back squat, is that a great exercise? Fuck yeah, it is. Yeah. But if she's not a power lifter, a crossfitter, an Olympic lifter, does she need a bar on her back? If you can, yes. If you can't, don't force a square peg into a round hole just because you love squats and you're the squat guy or you're the body weight guy, so she has to do handstands. No, she has to get to her goals. She's paying you to get to her goals.
Yeah.
That's it. You need to use the tools in your
All your
toolbox
tools,
to
yeah.
reverse engineer her goals to where she's at now and then follow that path and coach her along that path. So, for example, yes, if she can squat, that'd be great. If not, we're goblet squat, we're leg press, we're whatever. You modify to work around pain to get to the goals, not the other way around. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense? So then, speaking of that, just so trainers and people know, we already went over like from ground up, stable foot, mobile ankle, stable knee, mobile hip, stable lumbar spine / core,
Mobile thoracic
spine, thank you, stable scapula, mobile shoulder, right? But that's more of like a vertical approach within the body. A more horizontal approach, let's say in the training program itself, would be before we go anywhere for each movement, you're going to need prerequisite mobility, stability, technique, and strength before we get anywhere. Because the fifth thing would be going to your goals, be it performance, weight loss, muscle gain, whatever.
Yeah.
So let's define these things. Mobility is first, meaning full range of motion, full pain-free range of motion at a joint is joint's optimal mobility. That's first and foremost, right? The difference between that and flexibility is the muscles, like length-tension relationship. How flexible is the muscle?
So one is joint, mobility is joint, flexibility is muscle.
Flexibility is muscle. So working on your flexibility is great, but that's a separate thing. You could be not so flexible and have mobility, stability, and strength and be dope.
There's crossover
sometimes. There's totally crossover. But that's a separate thing. So joint mobility, first and foremost. So A, we can get into good positions, and B, we can not have any pain. Next is stability, right? In like a continuum or progression, what'd you call this?
Yeah.
Order of operations,
I
call it.
Mobility.
Yeah. Mobility first, then stability. Okay, so we know strength is the ability to produce force. So stability is the ability to resist force. So once a joint is mobile and can go through full range of motion, we want it to then be stable by holding the muscles and not moving the joints around the moving joint that we want. So to give an example, like the squat, like we were saying, the hips, knees, and ankles are moving. That's it. So you got to have a stable pelvis so that doesn't move, a stable core / lumbar so the lower back doesn't move, and a stable scapula so the fucking upper back doesn't move and the shoulders don't pull the bar down. So some joints you don't want to move and some joints you do want to move. So those are the stable joints. So that's your stability. Then neuromuscular patterning. Ooh. So that would be your technique.
That's a fancy
bar
word.
Path. Yeah. So neuromuscular patterning is basically just your, not even mind-muscle connection. People will call it like muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's really your nervous system doing your 10,000 reps.
Yeah.
And getting your practice in at any movement. A push, a pull, a hinge, a squat, a jump, a run.
Yep.
To complex stuff, to a snatch, to a squat, to a deadlift. Mm-hmm. Technique first. Technique before strength. Mobility, stability, technique, then strength. But we need treadmills and salads and sweating and burpees and whatever. Strength. Build strength. Okay? Whether you want to preserve the muscle you have and create a caloric deficit to cut fat around it, or whether you want to build muscle. People think it's fucking 20 reps and sweat and burn to lose fat, and people think it's all this volume to build muscle. It is and it isn't. Strength is always going to be the most important so that you're preserving the muscle you have, which is basically what your metabolism is based upon if you're losing fat in a caloric deficit.
It takes a lot of energy to keep muscle around.
Yes.
Your body does not naturally want to keep muscle because it's inefficient.
It's inefficient.
It can be inefficient if it's not integrated properly.
Great point. Yeah. But it's living tissue, where fat is just storage that's sitting
Exactly,
there. Muscle actually takes calories to survive at a standstill even when you're laying down.
Yeah.
It's living tissue that the body's feeding calories to. Where was I at? Muscle...
Yeah, muscle, fat, strength is more important.
So even if you want to build muscle, doing 1,000 reps of pump when you weren't anywhere near failure whatsoever, or your 1, 2, 3, 0 reps in reserve, whatever you want to call it, is not the way either. Because if you build strength at a certain rep range, then you're doing your high reps at a heavier weight.
Yep.
So either way, no matter what we're doing, we want a novel stimulus on the body to disrupt homeostasis to cause the body to adapt and grow, whichever way we want it. So we're causing that novel stimulus to disrupt homeostasis, and then the caloric deficit or surplus is going to be whether we gain muscle or lose fat.
Yep.
And then it gets trickier when we're talking about health and performance. That's why we're starting with fat loss first.
Yeah.
Because when we get into diet, that'll be tomorrow when we break down the actual macros. But if you're getting enough protein and lifting properly, you have the full package.
Yeah.
So we've gone over mental, emotional, physical, then assessment, and then, like I said, mobility, stability, patterning, mobility, stability, technique, and strength before we even get to fat loss, which is our goal. All right. So Maria has now cried to us. We've hugged her. We took all our notes. We've seen her walk, sit, stand,
Squat,
and lunge. Thank you. We've done a couple of just machines and dumbbell work to see her push, pull, hinge, and whatnot. And she felt good after day 1 with our assessment. So then, if you're not a good trainer, you would fucking send her home and say, don't worry about sleep, don't worry about stress, don't worry about food, don't worry about water. Just come back 3 times a week and we'll jump up and down.
3 hours is all it takes
for high fives, right?
to change your life.
But it's not. So what we're going to do as phase 1 for her homework to leave her is, first of all, get yourself a water bottle, fill it up, put it by the mouse pad, and drink more water. What's more? More than what you're already drinking. You want a specific number? Half of your body weight in ounces at the very least per day. So first thing is drink more water.
Yeah,
especially in a fat loss phase, but anything. Health, performance, anything. Drink more water.
It'll just, especially if she's new to resistance training or kind of formal exercise
routine.
Going to need it. A lot of your body's made up of water.
You don't say.
Mm-hmm. So, when you're dehydrated, just energy, like all functioning of your body decreases dramatically. So if you have a goal that's as rigorous as changing your entire composition, you're going to want to be as fuel as proper as possible, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is like the water and the sleep. These are not necessarily easy things to do, but they're like much easier than losing 20 pounds.
That's your low-hanging fruit, your phase 1.
Exactly.
For sure.
Momentum. So
to build momentum and confidence. So we're going to drink more water. How much more? Minimum of half your body weight in ounces per day. Then we want to get back into some habit, some routine of walking. Especially if we're chained to a cubicle or even worse, Zooming at home, doing your emails,
and
your
sweatpants and bad posture on the futons.
Seriously. And we can get into stretch breaks and meditation breaks and all these other things, but at the very least, a 30-minute walk in the morning, 30-minute walk at night, or 3 10-minute walks throughout the day. I like a 10-minute walk after each meal, which is kind of nice, especially if you're home. And once again, I always say this, if you have a dog and you're doing a 1-minute walk just so they can piss, or if you're just chucking them out in the back, you're doing a disservice to not only yourself, but the dog.
Yeah.
The dog always, no matter what dog it is, unless it's like snowing or raining, some are scared or whatever.
Yeah.
The dog, no matter what the breed is, wants to go for a walk.
Yeah.
And that's their exercise. That's their time to be a dog and sniff things, and mark things, and do things.
40% of their sensory perception is smell.
Smell. They're not, you know what I mean? And so you're doing them a service. So if that can be your inspiration, I don't want to take a walk, but Sparky does.
Sparky.
And you love Sparky more than you love yourself right now, then that's your inspiration. You see what I'm saying? If you don't have something internal to motivate you, you look for extrinsic motivation. So if you don't have a dog, you're going to have to either set an alarm to take breaks, or like I said, 10-minute walk after each meal is nice. What do you think about walks? You like to do a longer one in the morning, and then maybe if you can another one later?
Yeah, just for my schedule. I mean, I like. I'm not opposed at all to like the 3 10-minute walk, the high frequency stuff.
Every time you
it's probably even better, honestly, in terms of pattern.
Right.
In terms of
creating habits.
Yeah. For me, I like a longer 30-minute in the morning. Just I'm up very early, so like I know I have time. I block off that time just to take a walk specifically because it just helps reset my mind.
It really does.
And I like the cold, so like even I'm one of those few people that's enjoying the winter right now. But yeah, I mean, I think it allows you to get to, because same thing with meditation, the first like 5 minutes you meditate, 10 minutes, especially if you're new, you're probably going to still be thinking at the 10th minute, It's
like anything else. The more you practice, the quicker you drop in.
Exactly, yeah. So same with walking, the more you start, the quicker you kind of can just say to all those old thoughts.
Let's go.
Yeah, we're just doing it.
Awesome. Love that. So yeah, that would be my recommendation is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. As soon as it's done, go for a 10-minute walk. And if you have a dog, don't even time the walk. Just go. And this is where I would say airplane mode the phone so that you can either breathe through your nose and clear your head and observe the nature and the neighbors and the surroundings, or audiobook podcast. Instead of blasting music or mindlessly scrolling while you're walking, you know what I mean? Or a conversation if you have a buddy.
Yeah,
that's great too.
Yeah.
But point being is
being
that's
present.
time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Be present during the walk.
I don't listen to music, but this is the time to be present, right?
Yeah,
music can take you away or it can put you in the zone.
Yeah, me personally, in the past, maybe 10 years, it's podcast or audiobook 24/7, and music is just for working out or partying.
Yeah.
I don't even drive or hang out to music anymore.
Yeah.
It's all just downloading information from books and podcasts.
Much as you can get,
And then I use music to change my mood. I save that music.
When you really need it, rather than repeating the same 6 songs over and over and over again.
Which we've all done it. So she's drinking more water. She's going for walks. Then, before we still not on any treadmills, no burpees, no squats, no deadlifts, no nothing. Then we're gonna say Maria. She's gonna say, John, what do I eat? And you're gonna be like,
kale sandwiches.
But we don't even know what she likes to eat and what she's currently eating. So First step is awareness for everything. So whatever the fuck you're eating, become a little more mindful and aware and just track it. You can download an app. You got Lose It. You got MyFitnessPal. You got Calorie Tracker, whatever the fuck. Or even just good old pencil and paper.
Yeah.
Writing down approximately what you're eating so we can calculate approximately not only how many calories we're eating, but what macronutrient ratios we're getting into as far as protein, carbs, and fats. Because oftentimes those are way off.
Yeah.
People eating too much carbs, not enough protein, or too much fat, or not enough fat. I've seen a lot of that too.
Yeah.
So the first week, we're not even worried about what is optimal. We're worried about where we are now. What is our point A? What is our awareness of what we're doing? So that first week, we're just tracking everything. And the next time I see you, you've bought a water bottle and done your best drinking it. You've taken your 3 10-minute walks, and you're coming to me with your notebook or your app of what you eat on a normal week without thinking about it. And now we're not changing anything. We're just thinking about it.
Yeah, so in a single week, you could have checked off, like, with all those things combined, like 40 check marks. I did this already without having lost any weight yet. So you're accomplishing a ton that's going to go toward that weight loss goal without even having to think about the weight loss goal, which if you do, which a lot of people do right at the beginning, 1 week in, like, I'm not 140 yet. I was like, well, look at all this shit you just did that you didn't do before. That's all going to add up.
Did you blow up to 160 in a week?
Spontaneously combust.
I don't think so.
Exactly. It didn't take that long time to get there.
If you walk fucking 3 hours into the woods, it's going to take 3 hours to walk back out. That's just how it goes. So, then when she shows up the next week, we look at it, and first and foremost is positive reinforcement from the coach or trainer standpoint is you did an amazing job by drinking some more water, going for some walks, and tracking. We're on fucking beautiful path right now, and we take a look at it. And the first thing I like to do is before we're into macros, proteins, carbs, and fats, before we're into fancy pre-workout, before bed timing, and before we're even into total calories, which does matter, but matters quite a bit when we're going for fat loss, probably the primary thing. But we want this to be sustainable in the long term and create new lifestyle habits. So we're not going to fucking throw everything all at once. So when they come to you week 2, Maria says, here's what I wrote down. And I look at it with love and compassion and say, this is all great, but how about we substitute this fucking 3 cups of rice and 4 pieces of bread with some chicken instead of bread? Like, I'm not even point being is, I'm not even subtracting calories on week 2 yet.
You're switching.
I'm switching some stuff around, some healthier choices, some healthier substitutions, and then maybe on the fly eyeballing macros as far as if protein is super low and carbs are super high, just for example, switching out some of that. So a general rule is more water, more protein, more vegetables.
Yep.
Before we start counting and weighing and measuring everything.
Getting too caught up with that.
Because we are going to get caught up in that when we get some momentum.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't want to throw everything all at once because then the whole fucking thing falls out.
Because then she doesn't do it, and then she feels bad, and now we lost some momentum, and she's demotivated, right?
The only program that's a good program is the one we can stick to. The plan is to keep the plan the plan.
That's
stay on the plan.
That's a good plan.
And that's a good plan. So that's when we're making, okay, instead of fried chicken, how about grilled chicken? Instead of rice with bread, we get rice with eggs, whatever the fuck, right? Because that's my biggest thing is usually breakfast when people are doing cereal. I got coffee with 3 scoops of sugar, a glass of orange juice, and a bowl of cereal. Right.
So you had 120 grams of carbs.
Yes, with almost no protein. And I'm
no
like,
Yeah.
slow down. And then I've, Tim Ferriss has the fucking like 30 rule or something. 30 grams of protein and 30 ounces of water within 30 minutes of waking up.
I like it.
You just chug a fucking 2 16-ounce waters and eat 30 grams of protein somehow without tracking anything further than that.
Bada boom.
For your breakfast. You know what I mean? You wake up, chug a bunch of water. First meal is somehow 30 grams of protein. And we haven't even weighed or measured or talked about sugars and carbs and fats yet.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to do, but that's the general rule is track everything. More protein, more water, more vegetables before we get crazy. You like that phase 1?
Yeah.
So now it's a week of tracking, a week of substitute tracking, and we're obviously starting the resistance program this time. So phase 2 is when, like we said, we're adding our resistance training. So you'd call this lifting weights. I call it resistance training because I'm not married to the tools.
Yeah.
A good
tools
carpenter,
are just tools. Yeah.
Tools are just tools, and you learn how to use them properly. So,
Best tool for the job.
Best tool for the job. So there's kettlebell guys that barbells suck, and all I do is kettlebells. And then there's barbell guys that dumbbells suck, all I do is dumbbells. And then there's like machine and free weight guys.
There's very few machine guys, but they're definitely out there.
Oh, there's machine guys and there's bodyweight guys that
guys.
like, oh, I love resistance, but I only do push-ups and this and that and bodyweight stuff because weights are bad. And the only dumb people, like I said, I say dumb, but like the people that are only not going anywhere is the rubber band only crowd.
Just bands?
Just because there's no progressive overload from it. You've played all your cards on day 1.
Yeah, I guess you can get thicker and thicker bands. But
only to a certain point.
To a certain degree,
and then it's a different type of resistance.
Yeah, no, it's not that anymore, yeah.
Right. So you're going to adapt to that.
Yeah, variable resistance is pretty cool, but when in conjunction with other things, why wouldn't you just do other stuff?
So that's when we're going to, and like I said, on Wednesday on the next episode, we're going to break down sets and reps and days of the week in the split.
Yep.
After Maria's assessment and whatnot. But for now, it's just when we're adding in some type of resistance program. The question that I usually ask is, how many days a week in total are you going to be committed to seeing me for exercise?
Yeah.
And if they say 7 days a week, I'm like, slow down.
Yeah.
You're getting a little crazy. If they say, maybe 1 or 2, I either try to motivate them and explain the science that we're going to need more than that, or I say I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
And if the answer is anywhere between 3 and 6, I roll with it.
Yeah.
I'm so busy, all I have is 3 days a week. That's my bare minimum.
Yeah.
I would love to say 4 days a week because if there's 7 days in a week, now you're lifting more days than you're not lifting, so the body has to adapt to that.
Yep.
5 is also glorious because you got like a Monday through Friday that you can periodize properly, so she's not getting smoked, but she's getting 5 days of stimulus.
Yeah.
And if she's either super advanced or an athlete, 6 days is fine, but 7 is really not because you want a day to rest the nervous system and whatnot. So let's say Maria's doing 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Because that's easy to write up for Wednesday. And so that's when we just get into that 4-day-a-week cycle. And
showing up.
And we're showing up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now is where we come in and we take the diet of what we've already kicked out, what she doesn't like to eat, what she doesn't digest well, what she's allergic to, and we already have our substitutions where vegetables, water, and protein are up a little higher, and maybe we've kicked out some junk.
Yeah.
So now is when we actually, whether we're going to weigh and measure, is where we might fuck with some timing, maybe not, but we're definitely getting macronutrient ratios of protein, carbs, and fats tied down, and this is where the total calories come into play. So now we've gotten 2 weeks of just roughly tracking, and now we're more specifically tracking because what's that going to do? It's going to bring more awareness to them. So it's not always add more cardio, add more weight on the bar, subtract calories. It's become more present and more aware of what we are doing.
Yeah.
People are surprised there's hidden calories all over the place.
Sneaky,
calories
sneaky,
hiding
sneaky.
in the bushes like COVID.
Ah.
You know, people are wearing 2 masks in the car.
Calories coming in there.
People are wearing 2 masks in the car for hidden calories.
You never know, man.
And hidden carbs and shit. So that's when we tighten the diet even further because we've already gotten some momentum. We've already established an emotional connection as far as the relationship of coach, trainer to athlete, student, whatever.
Yeah.
We've already gotten our water and our walking and our sleep a little better. Let's come back to sleep a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so she's on a rhythm of writing out a shopping list, shopping, cooking some stuff ahead of time, and making smart choices when she does order out. Then we're ramping up the resistance training program, and we're getting how many total calories are you actually eating. So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So some people say never track calories, and some people say weigh and measure every morsel. Just like everything else, I'm not very far left or far right on that. Let's just eat healthy and get some momentum, and then we will track. And then we track for X amount of time, and we go back to eyeballing and intuitively eating and listening to your body, because now you know what X amount of calories looks like, because you have weighed and measured for a certain period of time.
But if you don't know,
then you don't know.
Then you don't know. You can't change what you don't know you need to change. Right?
So awareness and education are the first couple of steps. So this on phase 2, we're ramping up the resistance training, we're tightening up the diet by straightening out the macronutrient ratios, and we're getting a bead on the total calories. And that's basically just where we're at. I'm not even going to subtract at that point yet. I'm waiting for phase 3. And I say phase because it's not amount of weeks. It's amount of
just progression that I see within the person.
Of what we see within the person, and because they're not going to, at this point, drinking more water, eating more protein, eating less junk, and going for walks, they've already lost a pound or 2.
Yeah, just
and they're
doing
like, oh
just
shit,
doing that.
Let's go. And they're fired up.
Yeah.
But if, like I said, if we start with 9 days a week of cardio and a fucking 1,000 calorie deficit off the bat, you get diminishing returns. They're coming soon. I'm telling you. I've been there. Trust me. Notice that we haven't said fucking waist trainer, fit tea, fat burner, supplements, protein powders, or none of that shit yet.
None of that.
So phase 3, this is where we're going to ramp up the resistance training, because now we know what she likes, what she dislikes, what her body responds to, and what it doesn't respond to, and we're on some type of progression model because we're a month in approximately, whatever. I'm making up time frames, but the resistance training goes into another phase, and we tighten the diet even more, meaning now she knows how to track and what to eat, and she's feeling good, so now we can subtract some calories. You never, pretty much never subtract from protein.
Yeah.
You're going to find out based upon the ratios or her personal preference or sometimes genetics, whether we're going to pull from fat or whether we're going to pull from carbs, because protein preserves muscle and it has the highest thermic effect of food. If you want more nerdy science on that, go back and listen to our macronutrient episode or the protein episode. But basically, you never want to subtract from protein, specifically in a fat loss phase.
Yeah.
So we're either going to pull some calories from fats or perhaps pull some calories from carbs. All right. So that's where we're going to get more of a caloric deficit. This would be the time. If everything's going great, I would leave it at that.
Yeah.
If everything's not going great, meaning not 1 to 2 pounds of fat loss, we would either have another accountability, honesty check-in to see what we're doing, or we would add cardio.
Yeah.
I would only add
9 days a week.
1 to 2 days a week at first, and never more than 3 to 4 days. Probably start with just 1.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, do you like to piggyback the cardio right after lifting, have it on a completely separate day, or totally go by an individual basis based on lifestyle and timing?
Depends on Maria and what her schedule is and what she's doing.
So most people,
I like doing it for fat loss, a separate day, because especially if she hasn't, she's inactive right now. I'd rather have her more days frequency of stimulus
so
versus packing in more.
I love that.
Yeah.
Adding more frequency instead of density to the workout. Because technically, you could lift for 60 minutes and do cardio for 30 minutes on the back end of it. You don't want to do cardio first.
Yeah.
Maybe a warm-up, but there's better ways to warm up.
Yeah.
But for fat loss specifically, you want to lift first while you have the most focus and energy. And then some cardio. But I like what you're saying. This is not like a bodybuilder that's going 6 days a week and needs to tack on the cardio at the end of the sessions. She needs to be moving more frequently. So if we're lifting 4 days a week, maybe we just add a 5th day where we do some cardio.
Yeah.
Love that. So now that's phase 3. We've ramped
and if she's
up.
feeling a little bit fried from the 4 days, this would be perfect. A perfect, like I have to do. It's not like I have to next, like it's
active rest day that's burning some calories.
Yeah. But also keeping her in the habit of I'm staying active.
Love that. Absolutely love that. So then that's going to take you there because you're tweaking the diet and the resistance training that's why it's called phases and not actual blocks of time, because phase 3 is going to go till you're almost there.
Yeah.
There is a look, a feel, maybe weight on the scale, probably a body fat percentage, but we're capping it at 90 days.
Yeah.
So then phase 3 goes all the way up. You're training the resistance training, adding cardio if you need it, tightening the diet and pulling from carbs and fats if you need it. And then when we get there, approximately 90 days or to the goal, we have a reflection period. So phase 4, the final phase, as we'll wrap this
final phase
episode up, is a reflection period where how do we feel now? Let's fucking applaud ourselves for creating new habits and how far we've come, and fucking take a moment to celebrate these victories.
Because you're like, when you're in the engine, you're just shoveling the coal for 3 months. And just pause and see how far we've come, how much coal we've shoveled in there, and how where we're at now. So it's
huge,
and it's easy to overlook, especially, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because they're so zoned in and focused in the present that they're just going. That's fantastic.
Fantastic. So this is time to celebrate a victory and reflect.
Yeah.
Then in this reflection period is where the forks in the road come to see, are we at our goals and super happy and we're fucking done and we high five and we transition the calories and the exercise program into a maintenance phase.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I fell in love with lifting weights. I'm going to chase some strength goals now and just eat at a maintenance level of calories because I've got to my 140-pound goal. I look and feel great. I'm not pre-diabetic anymore. I'm fitting in fucking better dress sizes and all this. And I'm great, and thank you for your help, and I'll call you again if I have other goals in the future.
Yeah.
Or if we want to now build some muscle, so we're going to reverse diet, pull out the cardio, ramp up the resistance training, and add 100 to 200 calories a week, maybe not even, very slow, to keep the body fat percentage there and add muscle without the scale going too high. Or we take a reflection period and a diet break where we eat at maintenance and slap some cheat meals in to say, okay, I only got to 142, or no, fuck it, I got to 140, but I don't like how I look and feel. I'm going to need to pull another 5 pounds of fat. But you've been in a caloric deficit for 12 weeks. You take your time out. You have a cheat meal with the family. You go to a restaurant. You eat whatever you want. You don't feel bad about it. You don't cry about it. You don't fucking puke it out, cry it out, binge it for weeks. No. You have one nice cheat meal. Then you take that same habits and knowledge that you've built of tracking food, and you just eat at approximately a maintenance level of calories. That's going to hold on to this new homeostasis of a set point that the body you just shocked the body from going to 160 to 140 in 3 weeks.
3 months.
3 months. It wants to fucking shoot back up to 160 because it was comfortable there.
Yeah, it doesn't know that you're trying to lose fat for looking better, feeling better.
It doesn't give a fuck.
It just knows, like, this is what we were surviving at here.
Yes.
So any dip down from that, even if it's perceived, even for us as a good dip, to the body, it's like, well, this is danger mode. We've been 3 modes of starvation. Three months of starvation, essentially, as far as it can tell,
So if you continue to go starvation, it's not going to be good. And if you continue to binge, it's not going to be good. So you either want a slow increase of a reverse diet, or even better, a diet break. Because then if you eat at maintenance for a couple weeks, not only will your body hold on to that set point, but you're now getting hormonally, like your leptin and ghrelin levels will reset because you're not in a deficit. Your hunger and satiety and fat burning hormones, and then you can continue further. And then we do another 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks of getting to that 135 now, because it all matters how you look and feel in your body fat percentage. The number on the scale doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do there. That phase 4, because there's only then 4 phases, and then you would basically start back at phase 2. And add more resistance, look at the diet again, and go. Yeah. Know what I mean? So I think that's a big takeaway there is from the whole, just to summarize this whole episode, is hold space for the person, create space, a safe space to talk and feel and be vulnerable and listen to all their information. Don't project your bullshit or B, your favorite shit on them. Their safety, health, and goals are the only thing that's important. And then after you do all the proper steps, mobility, stability, technique, strength, blah, 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 calories, walking, water, sleep, stress, blah, 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 sets, reps, lifting weight, adding cardio, dropping calories even more. The biggest thing that I'm getting to is the reflection period. take a deep breath, smell the roses,
Yeah.
eat maintenance for a little bit, and then clear your head and say, do I want to build muscle? Do I want to work on strength? Or yes, I do want to continue fat
Yeah.
loss. And do it with reinvigorated emotional, mental, and metabolism.
Yeah, because again, the goal lets us know where we're at, essentially, right?
it.
So this 3 months, we set a goal. At the end of 3 months, this is where we're at, So
That's it. So we're back next time with sets, reps, splits, macro ratios, total calories, tips and tricks for water and sleep for Maria.
getting the details on Maria.
Details. Peace.